All right. So first topic right off the mark is we do our best, greatest wrestler of all time bracket in wrestling life. On the Heartbreak Kid Michaels or Chris Y2J Jericho. Who is better? CLK will
I will jump in since Doozy looks like he's still pondering some anger.
Oh, yeah.
I love Jericho, right? So Jericho, I think the Jericho moment when he comes out, you know, you finally get the Titantron and get the little ball and it goes down and you find out it says Jericho on the screen and it's just this amazing cool moment in WWE coming over from WCW. That I even though I kind of already knew it was going to be Jericho, it still blew my mind. It was still amazing and I still love it, right? You know, The Rock coming out and saying, "What is your name? I told you once. I said it doesn't matter." You know, and burning him anyway. And I learned to love Jericho so much from so many different aspects. The list, obviously, we do the list here on the show later on. The list of Jericho was something that definitely took off for me. So revolutionary. He's always changing, always doing new things, and not afraid to try new angles. I love that. He's reinvented himself 1,000 times. Not even in AEW. He could stand to lose a little weight, but he's still great. Once again, you know, great in-ring performer. If you haven't done the walls of Jericho to some little kid or something like that in your lifetime, I don't know what the hell you've been doing. I used to do this to kids that were literally crying, and I would still do it anyway. You know, and then I just fall on the floor and act like they hurt me too. We both got hurt, but
it's okay. Don't tell me. It's okay.
Yeah. Oh, he got me too a little bit. Yeah, you know. But so it's, you know, my whole life of wrestling fandom has revolved around Jericho and so many things. I use all his stuff. That being said, I think it's so obvious that Shawn Michaels has to rank above Jericho. Like we got this Wrestling Life group and we talk about it in there, but it's just before this bracket, you know, I posted the bracket actually originally. I was the one who posted it in the damn group. Before that bracket was put out. Huh?
Congratulations.
Yes, I had to take some credit.
Finally done something for the group.
I know. Hey, I also put that Triple H thing in there. Anyway, point is like before that bracket got put there, I feel like it was just worldwide known that HBK is above Jericho. Like this is, if you ask anybody, HBK, name the top 3 wrestlers of all time. Shawn Michaels, okay, like he's already listed. If you're not saying them first, you say Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, and then you stop, right? So it's just like, and I'm not saying me, I'm just saying that's what I tend to hear when I ask that question. And it's just all of a sudden, Jericho is outdoing Shawn Michaels in this poll. And I feel like I don't care about the age differences. It's just Shawn Michaels is Jordan class. Shawn Michaels is Tom Brady class. Shawn Michaels is the top tier. Nobody can keep him out of the top 3, no matter who the hell you are, of all time in actual skill and ability, not how he touches your heart and how you lived with him. So it's just for him to come out of left field and even have a chance like Jericho makes no sense to me. Music is amazing. Wrestling is amazing. Character is amazing. Well, where do you say, if those are the 3 dimensions of wrestling, where do you say that Jericho ranks above him, Doozy?
First of all, Jericho doesn't rank above Shawn Michaels in any category. Well, mainly what we have here in the group is a problem of people only watching wrestling from the year 2000 on. There's a lot of 20-somethings that grew up not being spanked or anything like that, and so they feel privileged to be like, "Hey, Jericho, he's the best." No.
Those were the kids that got the walls of Jericho done to them. So that's all they know.
That's right. They're the ones that, you know, probably got the wishbone to them a couple times more often than not. The problem is that people, they don't want to look at the past. You know, we look back and we think of greatest wrestler of all time. You know, we're not thinking about, you know, what the other people have done for the wrestling business, like Lou Thez or Buddy Rogers, all these guys that have actually done something for the business to keep it running. You know, we think about all those promotions that died in the 80s simply because, you know, people just didn't care. Then comes this tag team, the Rockers. We got Marty Jannetty, Shawn Michaels. Shut the fuck up, Jake. So we get these guys. These guys are awesome. They're off the ropes. They're high flying. They're doing all this striking. They're doing these super kicks in tandem, mind you, and it's awesome. Then we get the heel turn. Shawn Michaels puts Jannetty through a window. He's on his own. We get Shawn Michaels by himself. He's got Diesel now, so he's got a bodyguard. Got Pamela Anderson. Awesome. Okay, so not only has this guy went from tag team to solo action, being in the first ever WWE ladder match, well, WWF ladder match against Razor Ramon, loses it, but we all got to see his butt, and I know, Jake, you like that. But then from there, wins Royal Rumble. Twice, back-to-back. Okay, first time he was technically number one. Wins world title. Boyhood dream completed. He finally did it. That's our kayfabe. We didn't have social media to have Jericho rein in on every single aspect of his life. Cruise this, doing something this. I have podcasts. I have mugs. I have a bat now. I'm Negan. Like, come on, dude. Nobody's buying it. I don't care. Nobody cares about your black, stupid mask that you have over in Japan. I don't care. I'm seeing what Shawn Michaels has done for WWF, WWE, gone on, DX, just fought everybody. Ended Ric Flair's career. Ric Flair wouldn't have anybody else do it. It's Shawn fucking Michaels. I don't care. Like, his resume is, I'm done.
And not to cut you off, but you know how you were mentioning like Luthez and all these older names that paved the way, and they, comparison-wise, is like, if you, again, not to just dive into the basketball comparison, but you look at people like Bill Russell and Pistol Pete Maravich and Bob Cousy and all these old school names, like, whenever you say, oh, Jordan or LeBron, you're dismissing the old times. But Shawn Michaels comes from an era of the best. Like, the Attitude Era is the top era, period. So it's like, it's not as if we're comparing him to like a bunch of nobodies that were old scrubs where they're dribbling the ball like this, like I say, but you're comparing him to amongst the best. He was still the best.
But I mean, at the time when Shawn Michaels had left during that Attitude Era, it was Stone Cold who was reigning. I mean, I think we can all agree on that. Yeah. Stone Cold was reigning during that era because, he beat Shawn Michaels at WrestleMania
14.
15?
14.
Okay. 14. That's what I thought. So 2 years after the Boyhood Dream, wrestles Shawn Michaels, or wrestles Stone Cold, and Stone Cold's the hottest thing on the planet. But that's because his promos are it's just him drinking beer. That's all it is. Him drinking beer, flipping off the boss. I'm the American man. This is what I want to do to my boss. Like, yeah. Nobody cares about
What does this have to do with HBK?
Because he was injured and he had to put on a show, even though he was injured at the time.
When can I talk about Jericho?
Go, Jay.
Hold on. Before we get to Jericho, just let it be known that during that entire match, Shawn Michaels had a certifiably career-ending injury. It didn't just happen in that match. He was wrestling while having that injury. Yes, it got aggravated more during the match. He still went on, put on a freaking 5-star show, and sold every single move that Stone Cold did to him. When he got that final stunner, spit flew up in the air, amazing. Granted, he had those stupid little dreadlocks in his hair, and I mean, that's the only bad thing I can say about Shawn Michaels, but go ahead, Jake.
7 WWE world titles for Jericho, 4 for Shawn Michaels. The most Intercontinental titles ever with 9. 6 tag team championships with WWE. 7. Shawn Michaels had 6. Chris Jericho has reinvented himself multiple times into different characters, face or heel, across multiple organizations. He beat Stone Cold and The Rock the same night to unify the titles, which are arguably 2 of the top 5, if not the 2 most impactful wrestlers of all time on the business. He has been the tops of every organization that he has wrestled for.
Except WCW.
Okay, WCW, but he wasn't allowed to be because of Kevin Nash. But he was
the top of WWE.
He's absolutely at one point was. Yeah, for sure. HBK.
He wasn't the guy.
Okay, but he's been the guy internationally. New Japan Pro Wrestling, now AEW is their first champion. I mean, he's the difference in my opinion is this. HBK is a better wrestler. HBK is probably a better in-ring performer than Chris Jericho. There's no doubt in my mind that that's true. However, Chris Jericho has a more diverse moveset. He has a more impact globally on the wrestling business. He invented matches, Money in the Bank ladder match. He's the more decorated wrestler from a title perspective. So I think when everything's done and his career is over, he will go down as one of the greatest, if not the most impactful wrestler of all time on the industry. If it wasn't for him, AEW wouldn't be where it is today. And I think that's a huge payment towards Chris Jericho and his ability. HBK is amazing. There's no denying that. And it took me about 15 minutes to make a decision on who's better. But I land on Chris Jericho because, in my opinion, he has more encompassing competencies than HBK does. HBK is huge, and he's the best seller probably to ever exist in the industry, but he doesn't hit all the notches. And I think Stone Cold taking the torch and running with it way more than HBK did shows why HBK is a better wrestler.
A couple of things there, right? So just quick answer, no description. Who you taking? Who's better, The Rock or Y2J? This is to Jake specifically.
Of all time?
Yes.
As far as like
all time, no, all categories, man.
All categories, The Rock or Jericho. Picture, like who you picking?
My question is The Rock.
Oh, okay.
Why? Then you're saying The Rock is better than Shawn Michaels.
Hold on. So I just want to discredit some of your points because all those numbers you started with are better than what The Rock has on those same numbers. So title pushes and things like that at those times weren't the same way that they are handled now, where it's like, oh, I got 13 title reigns by Charlotte. Like back then, it was a completely different game. Holding the title wasn't everything, right? So also longevity of holding the title, not losing it in a month, right? So that's irrelevant. The numbers are irrelevant in this and this time only. Secondly, Jericho was never the it guy in WWE. He was great, and I loved him, but he was never the guy in WWE like the way Austin was, the way Shawn Michaels was, right? Ever. There was never a point where you said, Jericho's the guy? Everybody in agreement? Like, that never happened.
Was Shawn Michaels really the it guy for a long period of time?
In the 90s, right before the Austin thing? Yeah, he definitely was.
Like, how long, though? Because, like, barely before that, it was Bret Hart. Barely.
Okay, and yeah, I'll give you that. It was Bret Hart until he started fading off with the whole WCW thing and all that. But either way, so couple that with, if you're never the it guy in that industry, it's hard for me to put you all the way on top, right? So you can name all these, athletes in any sport they were great for, this team, they had good stats, but if they're not the guy, ever the guy, then they can't be in the upper tier echelon of art.
So being the for 10 months classifies you in that tier. The reason why I say The Rock is because he was the it guy for a very long period of time, and his impact on the entire wrestling industry probably is that of all three of them because of what he's done outside of wrestling as well. But from being the greatest wrestler of all time, no, he's not a better greatest wrestler of all time than Chris Jericho.
But Yao Ming has a bigger international impact than Michael Jordan might have. Or
you can't separate each thing on its own.
Okay, but that's my point. That's my point. The point that you're giving points to Jericho in this argument in a segment that would never matter to Shawn Michaels, because I don't care what you did in college, I don't care what you did in high school, I don't care what you did in the Indies. All that matters is what you did in the NBA. All that matters is what you did in the NFL. We don't care about anything else. So yes, Jericho has a huge, wide impact in other, Japan and Europe and everywhere. But he never outclassed. There was never a moment where you said Jericho hit a level that Shawn Michaels has not hit. And Shawn Michaels, his peak is higher than Jericho's peak. And he had longevity. He had the injury, but he still had longevity before that. And he came back, and he had the DX times, and then he had the Undertaker match, and he had the Ric Flair match, coupled with, just like Randy Orton, one of those smooth-ass in-ring guys that doesn't have to have 1,000 moves. Every move is on point. Coupled with that, and just his ability to teach people, and every single person, even Ric Flair, bows down to him. No one speaks about Jericho like that. And I love Jericho. But
it's the Jordan psychological effect. That's why. And again, I'm not saying HBK is bad or that he's not even in the top five.
You are.
I'm not though. I'm saying Jericho has done more, and therefore, like I told you, I spent a long time thinking about it, and my gut said HBK right away because just like you, psychologically, I was like, wow, I mean, greatest in-ring performer for sure. And then the more I thought about it and did research, I said to myself, now I start to see the Hank Aaron, Pete Rose argument in baseball, the Willie Mays argument in baseball, anyone else, Bill Russell, whoever else in basketball or these other athletes that don't have the stardom that Jordan had or the impact. And you start to make a case or think in your head, maybe there's an argument to be made for these individuals that don't always get just the popular, famous
Yeah.
opinion.
I give you that, but at the same time, you can flip that argument into a weakness. Manu Ginobili did more for international basketball than Jordan ever did. Tim Duncan did more in actual day-to-day actual basketball by being an international player than Jordan ever did. Jordan didn't play overseas doing any of that kind of stuff.
I don't know. I think Jordan also had a
but
a
you get my
impact from the movie industry, doing baseball, getting 6 championships.
Culturally, but none of that has anything to do with actual wrestling. You break down the wrestling, it's what? Wrestling ability, promo cutting, character. That's pretty much it. Selling.
And you talk about this
and
innovation of character.
3 out of 4 of those, you're going to tell me HBK is better at promos than Jericho?
Heartbreak kid.
HBK is better at promos than Jericho.
No, I'm just saying that. Why does he need to reinvent himself? Why do you keep saying this? Jericho had to reinvent himself. Yeah, because his character got fucking stale.
No. It's a creativity thing. It has nothing to do with his character.
No, see, that's where you're wrong, man.
It's his decision to want to do that, and I think that speaks volumes of him.
Because nobody gives a shit.
He could have done character for the rest of his life, and that would have been the biggest thing. That'd been the hottest thing.
I'll give that to Jake. Where him reinventing was by choice, because I would have still loved Jericho as old Jericho with a ponytail all throughout his career. But at the same time, you got to realize, we say Austin took the reins from him and that he was a bigger pop than Shawn Michaels was. But Austin had a character dynamic that fit with the regular mold of people. He had the me versus the boss kind of thing. You want to stick it to your boss, you can watch Austin do it every night. Like, he's doing the thing I can't do. So it's a lot different.
I don't understand. What are you trying to say, though?
What I'm trying to say is that the weight of somebody saying that, well, Shawn Michaels was never what Austin was. Like what you're saying, like Austin did this. Like, can we agree that Austin was here and Shawn Michaels did this in terms of leading the company?
True, though.
Yeah. Okay, no, I agree with you. Yes, Austin had a pop that Shawn Michaels didn't have. Fair.
Yeah.
Jericho never had the pop that Shawn Michaels had. Never.
I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, how many people really give a shit about AEW? And look at his time as champion.
At least 1 million per week.
Okay, so
and from a TV perspective.
Okay, but
don't give me no
it just started last year. You can't compare it.
Who comes over from WWE and he drops it to that guy? Because the only way that championship was going to survive is if they put it on Jericho to begin with. That's the only way. I think we all know that. If
Jericho is in his prime, whatever version of Jericho you think is his prime, that's fair. If Jericho's in his prime, Shawn Michaels in his prime, and they're both injured, they're both out, in WWE, and they're both hurt, and you don't see them. Royal Rumble hits. Number 1 comes out Chris Jericho. Number 2 comes out Shawn Michaels. 1, Jericho's coming out first because he's the lesser star. And 2, that pop on Shawn Michaels is going to blow the freaking roof off in a way that Jericho never could. Jericho came out first, and he made a huge deal. CM Punk's music came out next, and it was over. That's it. CM Punk comes out in that matchup, and everyone cared about CM Punk. Because Jericho, as amazing he is, he's a cog in the system that is amazing and doesn't get the credit he deserves, but he can never be the
Change
guy.
your vote, Jake. You know it to be true. Search your feelings,
John
Jake.
Cena or Eddie Guerrero?